I found my flock. I'm a goose now.
Wake up every morning with drive.
What's up, the internet? I'm trying a new thing where I read a book and then I tell you what's in it so you don't have to read ever. Because who's got the time? Let me just take a moment to appreciate these goose.
I'm happy like a bird in your tree, like a bird in your tree.
They walk kind of like runway models, like leg first. It's very, very sexy. The book I'm reading today is Awareness by Tony Mello. An Indian man named Tony. Tony Mello is kind of like Eckhart Tolle if he was just way more aggressive. When I come out to the park, I read a couple pages, get a couple ideas from Tony, and I just feel better. I feel more relaxed. Tony's premise is that the reason we're not happy is because we're not aware. Another hot button word might be acceptance. We're not accepting reality as it is. And you can't accept reality if you're not aware of it. So his book, Awareness, tells you right at the front page what the answer is. You're miserable because you're not aware enough.
Dumb people are always blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
Anyway, Tony writes, clinging to illusion. When you cling, life is destroyed. When you hold on to anything, you cease to live. You can cling to the past, which, as a lot of people say, causes depression. Or you can cling to the future, which tends to cause anxiety. Or you can live in the moment and be aware, which creates sort of a buoyant, free, relaxed, alert consciousness and appreciation that's easier to carry through your years.
Inner peace.
Would whoever is making that flapping sound quiet down?
A lot of people say life is short. Life is long. Like if you live to 60 years old, it's just day after day after day of I'm not good enough. Why did I do that? Tony's prescription is to relax on the clinging to outcomes of the past or the future and be more aware. Get into today, Tony says. Someone said life is something that happens to us while we're busy making other plans. That's pathetic. See, that's what I'm talking about with Tony. Like Eckhart is like, Jesus and the Eastern mystics agreed that silence is the sound of the universe. This guy's like, get woke.
And y'all about to get woke.
His favorite quote is wake up. Okay, this is my favorite chapter title. He calls it Hugging Memories. I just like this idea. He says, when you see a long lost friend, you say, hey Tom, it's good to see you. And you give him a big hug. But who are you hugging? Tom or your memory of Tom? That was an interesting idea to me. He's going to get into this idea of us living in concepts, constructs. Even the goose over there. I have a concept of goose, memories of geese pooping on tennis courts near my house. Hey! My dog eating that goose poop. Me eating that goose poop for a bet because for a period of time from 11 to 14, I realized if I eat poop and bugs and drink rotten milk out of a fridge, I get a little bit of attention. So I have all these memories and concepts in my head around goose, but his idea is get rid of those and get back to child's mind. So when you're with somebody, as Tony says, be careful not to treat them like a memory. Maybe if you've had conflict with somebody in the past, just notice how that's shaping your interaction with that person in the future. And his idea is just let go of all that old memory stuff. All right, let's get into desire. Love instead of desire. So why do I fall in love with a person really? Why is it that I fall in love with one kind of person and not another? Because I'm conditioned. I've got an image subconsciously that this particular type of person appeals to me, attracts me. And when I meet this person, I fall head over heels in love. Here's the important part. Falling in love has nothing to do with love at all. It isn't love, it's desire, burning desire. You want with all your heart to be told by this adorable creature that you're attractive to her. That gives you a tremendous sensation. If that person regarded me positively, I'd be convinced that I'm not completely worthless. But he calls that more of an addiction. So love is not desire. Love is not, caring for another person to validate you. Love is like looking at that goose for the first time. Just sort of being an appreciation and awareness with the person you're cohabitating with. Tony continues, the concrete person I've got to see for myself, to experience for myself, to intuit for myself. The individual can be intuited but cannot be conceptualized. The day you teach the child the name of the bird, the child will never see the bird again. Another quality of reality. It flows. That's why concepts don't work. It's not static. It's in flux. It's like a wave. A wave is essentially movement action. When you freeze it, it's not a wave. Concepts are always frozen. Reality flows. We use concepts to kind of get us to the door, but then we have to walk through. He says, the ass that can mount and that you use to travel to a house is not the means by which you enter the house. Use the concept to get there, then you dismount, then you go beyond it. Do you want to break out of your prison? Then look, observe, spend hours observing. I think for a lot of people, like meditation, mindfulness, slowing down, anything that's slowing down is like the 5th or 6th thing on their list. You got to exercise, you got to make money, you got to get your significant other to stop yelling at you, you got to deal with your party you've got coming up. 10th down there is like, yeah, I should go out and be around the trees for a little bit. And he suggests spending hours a day. There's another koan, a Buddhist koan, that says, a guy goes to his guru and says, I need to be enlightened. And the guru says, well, sit here for an hour. He says, I don't have an hour. And he goes, okay, then sit here for 2 hours. So if you don't feel like you have the time to dedicate to appreciation, happiness, not being miserable all the time, you probably need to spend more time doing that. I first started coming out of here because of a breakup. I was in my own head a lot. I felt like I'd been rejected. So I come out here, I let myself relax. It felt like there was like a frozen ice cube or like a thistle of thorns around my chest, and that would slowly start to relax as I breathed. And then eventually, I'd just literally be thinking about nothing. And it took me hours. At first, I was doing it for 2 hours at a time. Now I'm kind of do 1 hour with a little bit of reading. And I never regret it. And you'd be shocked if you try to be busy, because I tend to do that too. I'm a little I don't want to say bipolar, but I tend to be either incredibly busy or really relaxed. And even when I'm busy, I notice like you'll do it for a day or two, and then you'll need 6 hours to just kind of veg out or sleep too long, or, if you drink, you'll probably drink. So if you're not dealing with the lack of contentment that you're running away from in some way, it's going to take time from you. And it's going to take more than an hour a day. So it's worth dedicating a little bit of time to. Tony goes on to sort of describe a childlike wonder that we should all aspire to. How sad if we pass through life and never see it with the eyes of a child. We can all relate to that, right? Children themselves are endlessly charming because they're completely in the moment. They're not living in the future or the past. If they stub their toe, they cry, but then they're running around again and laughing. I think we can all agree that a child with the maturity of an adult is kind of an ideal worth pursuing. I mean, think about anybody you love right now. Aren't they a little bit silly? A little bit in the moment? They listen with a little more clarity or come up with ideas that are creative and outside the box. So that's another thing that a spiritual practice gives you. Growth and recovery go hand in hand. We got to stop thinking of them as in competition. So as you're getting back on the Stairmaster, or traveling, or starting that business you wanted to start, also remember that becoming like a child again, who wasn't so concerned about accomplishments, much more concerned about the feeling of being alive, is a good way to balance that out. You're like a rocket ship, and you need some thrusters to balance you out as you exit the atmosphere.
Only learn a lesson. I'm Omni mutant, master splinter, past the finning. Now my goal infinity, victorious. My